by using tools we can adapt. I mean, we haven't adapted to cold climates. We put on clothing so that we can live in cold climates but still maintain a tropical temperature. I mean, in here it's tropical. 25, 26, 27 degrees under my t-shirt, for sure. In there, tropical. So, you know, we haven't adapted to cold climates. We've just taken the tropics with us. So I'm here at the cabin working on a new ebook. And I was sitting in there writing, and it's been for the last 2 weeks. It's just been overcast every day. The sun hasn't been out almost at all for a long period of time, and I was just sitting in there, and suddenly the whole area lit up. The sun was out. And I literally ran out, like I just bam got up and ran out here to just look at the sun. And there was just a brief moment. It was not even direct. It was behind a little bit of cloud, but I could see the orb, and it was just there for 1 minute. But it was wonderful to get that 1 minute of sunlight into my eyes and just like soak it up for 1 minute. I wish it was a bit longer. Maybe it's gonna be more soon because I can see the blue sky up there, although it's mostly cloudy. But you know, it made me again realize how important the sun is. And I've come to realize actually over the last few years, you know, I've realized something interesting, because coming from Norway and having traveled a lot in the tropics, I've experienced a lot of different climates over in my life. And I used to think that, oh my god, I can never live in Norway because it's too cold. It's just too cold up here in the north. I need to be in the tropics where it's warm. And although that is true, you know, it's not really ideal temperatures here in Norway. I've come to realize that temperature is not the biggest challenge up here in the north. Temperature is not the biggest challenge. I mean, we put on clothing, we stay indoors for part of the day. Not ideal. I mean, I would love to be outside more, and I would love to wear less clothing, but that's not like a huge deal. I can deal with that, you know, I can accept that's a okay compromise. The challenge with being in Norway and being, I guess, outside of the tropics has to do with the sun. And of course that's indirectly linked with the temperature as well, because it's cooler up here because we're further away from the sun, whereas the tropics, the equator, the equatorial regions are closer to the sun. That's why it's warmer there. But specifically the lack of sunlight, that is the challenge here in Norway. And it really comes in 3 ways. It's the lack of daylight in the winter, meaning, you know, the sun is just out for about 6 hours in December. It goes down at around like 3:30 p.m., even earlier in December. So the winter half of the year in Norway, the day is literally too short. So that's one manifestation of that issue. Another manifestation of that issue is that the strength of the sunlight during, again, the winter half of the year, which in Norway is actually for most of the year, even on a clear day, the strength is not strong enough to produce vitamin D. So even if you're out for 6 hours in the midday sun naked in November, you're still not going to get any vitamin D from that sunlight. So not only is the day too short for the winter half of the year, especially midwinter, but the strength of the sun is not strong enough to stimulate vitamin D production, and other things as well, probably things that we don't know about even. We are adapted as tropical animals to tropical sunlight where the sun is intense, and ideally we should probably be exposed to that intense sunlight every day. So when we're further away from the tropics, we're getting that less intense sunlight. That's a problem. That's a problem. But again, this is something we can sort of deal with. We take a supplement, right? I made another video about vitamin D supplementation. You might want to check that out. So we can sort of deal with that somehow. We can put on clothing for the temperature. We can use special light bulbs and stuff like that to sort of simulate daylight when the sun goes down in the winter. So there are things we can do. But there's one thing that I feel is almost unbearable, and that is the third sort of manifestation of this issue, and that is simply not enough sunlight. On a cloudy day like this, there are so many cloudy days. When the skies are blue and the sun is out, even midwinter here in Norway, I'm happy. I'm okay with that. I'll put on some more clothing. It's inconvenient, but sure, I'll do that. And I'll go out and play in nature. I'll go out and do something. I'll, live my life. As long as the sun is there, even if it's not that strong, even if it's, as long as it's there, as long as I can get that stimulation, I'm good. But when I'm not getting it, like right now, overcast and depressing, that's when I really struggle. I struggle in many ways, and I think this is universal. Most people struggle, and this is a very common issue. We struggle with feeling depressed. Why? Well, because the sunshine stimulates certain hormones in our brain, serotonin being one of them, that actually makes us feel happy and satisfied and content with life. So when we're not getting that, we're going to feel a little bit down maybe. Especially if that's combined with the sun going down at 3 p.m. or further north in Norway where the sun doesn't come up at all for 3 months. That can lead to serious depression. It's an actual chemical situation in the brain. It's not so much your mood or anything like that. It's actually a chemical situation in your brain. So we need that sunlight to stimulate those hormones. It also affects sleep because, again, these same hormones, serotonin as an example, is again converted to melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. So if you're not producing a lot of serotonin, if you're not being exposed to sufficient sunlight during the day, you won't produce as much melatonin at night, and you will find it harder to fall asleep and to get quality sleep. The sun is an important factor in regulating our sleep cycles. So if we want optimal sleep, we need daily sunshine entering into our eyes. When I say into my eyes, I don't mean like you don't literally have to look at the sun. That would be dangerous if the sun is very strong. I'm just talking about being exposed to daylight. And the truth is, even today, when it's overcast, just the fact that it is daylight means that the sun is coming through somewhat. Otherwise, it would be dark. So, that keeps us going. It's not like we're living in the complete darkness like they do in north of Norway during winter. So as long as we're getting that stimulation, a little bit of daylight, things are ticking along. The body is working, just suboptimally probably. So yeah, I've come to love living in Norway at the moment. I love it, but there are challenges. Challenges that I can deal with though, like the weather. Yeah, I can deal with it. I can put on some more clothing if it's a bit cold. That's fine. In fact, it's actually more conducive to running and endurance training because it's cooler. Like in the tropics, it's actually more difficult to do that sort of training because it's so hot and you have to do it in the morning and it's kind of inconvenient. So I actually prefer Norway for that purpose. But I can deal with a lot of the challenges in Norway. The one thing that I find very hard to deal with is the lack of sunshine. Yeah. So these days now, 2 weeks of just overcast weather, it takes a toll on my health. It takes a toll on my mood a little bit, and my sleep, my energy levels. Yeah, it takes a toll on my health overall. That being said though, there are a lot of good days here in Norway where the sun is out, even though it's not as strong. And as I said, I supplement with vitamin D now, so I feel like I'm not necessarily worried about that aspect of it. But it would be nice if it was more sunlight in Norway, but that's just how it is. You gotta just adapt. Every place around the world, even in the tropics where everything is so perfect, supposedly, according to me, right? Even those places have their challenges. Like there are environmental challenges to every single place. The heat is a big challenge in the tropics, most places, unless you're at altitude or something like that. So I used to think it was just perfect in the tropics. Just go to the tropics and everything's perfect. Well, that's not really the case. I find that it's almost easier to maintain optimal health in a slightly cooler climate, like a subtropical climate maybe. But then you would need the addition of clothing and that sort of thing to to sort of work with the cold. So again, by using tools we can adapt. I mean, we haven't adapted to cold climates. We put on clothing so that we can live in cold climates but still maintain a tropical temperature. I mean, in here it's tropical. 25, 26, 27 degrees under my t-shirt, for sure. In there, tropical. So, you know, we haven't adapted to cold climates. We've just taken the tropics with us to where we're at here in Norway. So, using tools, yeah, we can use tools to optimize the conditions for our health. And over time, we'll probably get even better at doing this. You know, using special lights and stuff inside to simulate more sunshine, and that will probably be good. It will never be as good as the real thing, probably. We can never fully understand how nature works in its completion, but we can do our best to stack the cards in our favor and live with the consequences, because there's always going to be some negative consequences to everything. So anyway, thanks for watching. You know, check out the video I mentioned about vitamin D. Stay tuned for an exciting ebook, or it'll probably be more like an e-booklet that I'm working on right now, coming up in a few months, probably a few months. We're also working on another ebook, which is a bigger project, which is probably coming out next summer. Not making any promises. So stay tuned for that, and check out my other ebooks. They're on our website. I'm also offering coaching if you need private assistance via Skype with, you know, anything regarding your journey towards better health and happiness. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks to all the Patreon supporters for making this possible. And I will see you in the next video.